Do you know what one of the biggest surprises in sex addiction recovery is, for me at least? When porn began leaving my life, emotions started to show up. And for many addicts, this can be extremely overwhelming because years of porn and sexual brokenness were not just about lust, friend. They became a way of avoiding stress, sadness, fear, loneliness, rejection, anxiety, disappointment, boredom, even shame. And so the addict, or you in this case, or myself, when I was living in my sexual addiction, we slowly learn how to numb ourselves instead of actually feeling. So, in many ways, we just kind of become asleep at the wheel of our own humanity. And then sobriety happens, right? So, you get a little bit of time and distance from that addiction. You finally decide, man, I'm going to show up, I'm going to do this differently. I'm going to stop acting out in my sexual brokenness. So, we get, a few days, maybe a couple weeks, maybe even a month of this, quote unquote sobriety. And now suddenly I feel things. And many men, maybe you included here, friend, we relapse not because sobriety isn't working, but because feeling again feels almost unbearable. So today, friend, I want to help you understand something deeper about these emotions, why these emotions are happening, why emotions aren't the enemy of our sobriety, and how we can begin learning to process emotions in healthy ways through connection with others and ultimately with God. So I want to dial in today. Let's talk emotions. Let's talk recovery. But before we do, if you guys have not yet joined me for the Crush the Shame challenge that I do each month, we just wrapped up one this past week and we had an amazing time together. So, friend, if you're looking to really take that first step into freedom, Crush the Shame Challenge is a live 3-day virtual event where I'm going to help you walk through understanding all aspects of shame and how it keeps us stuck, how God actually responds to our shame and sin, and how to take those first steps into the light. So if you haven't joined me for that yet, click the link below. You guys can find all the details out there. I'd love for you to be there with me in that. It is one of the greatest things you could do to take that first step out of the darkness into the light and join me there. So let's get back to our conversation today about emotions. The first thing I want to talk to you guys about is how addictions numb our emotional state. Porn addiction doesn't just numb sexuality, it actually numbs our humanity. And so for many men, porn actually becomes this place of comfort, this place of escape, a place of distraction. We might even say a place of emotional anesthesia. Instead of processing pain or discomfort, right? We medicate it. That's one of the first things in our addiction. We walk through this in that Crush the Shame challenge, but in our addiction trap, this shame cycle, it's like we have an emotional pain point or a trigger that then leads us to temptation. And that's where the addiction is living for most of us, because then we act out. So we don't process that. We medicate it. We don't reject, right? We don't want to deal with the feelings of rejection. We want to escape it. Instead of grieving, we want to numb that. Instead of slowing down and listening to our hearts, listening to our emotions, listening to what's really going on deep in our souls, we want to run from those things, right? And so eventually many addicts lose emotional language altogether. All we really know, friend, is we know how to be stressed, we know how to be horny, we know how to be angry, and then we know how to be like, I'm fine. And that's basically all the language we have for our emotional state whenever we're living in the addiction. But underneath those simple words are often a much deeper emotional world that's been buried for probably years, if not decades, right? So when recovery begins and we remove pornography or sexual misconduct from our lives, all of a sudden these emotions come flooding back all at once. And honestly, that can feel like pretty terrifying, right? I want to bring that into the light for you guys. For you, friend, like if you are struggling, like you're finding yourself with this little bit of like sobriety, maybe, days and weeks at a time. And then all of a sudden you're like, dude, I don't know what's going on in my body. I don't know what I'm thinking and feeling. This is overwhelming. So we tend to revert back because that's how we've always dealt with our emotions. We just go to pornography. But what's happening really here is that sobriety is actually awakening you. Friend, this is important for you to hear today. Feeling again is not a failure. It's actually a sign that you're waking up. You're becoming more alive as a human. You're becoming emotionally alive again. And the goal of recovery is not becoming less human. It's actually becoming fully human. That's our goal. We want to live as Jesus showed us how to live. Jesus wasn't just the God man and the Savior who died on a cross and resurrected in this like crazy, amazing story. He was also a human. And he showed us how to be fully human, fully alive, fully awake, fully connected. And this is why community matters so much in our recovery, right? We talk about crush the shame, the 4C framework that I teach. Crush the shame, cultivate community. That's the second pillar of the 4 pillars of a porn-free life, this 4C framework. Confront the cause, different conversation, and then commit to change. Community matters so much because we need to be able to find a place to start processing these emotions, these feelings that are so strange to us as we've lived in addiction for so long. So once emotions begin surfacing, we need that safe place of community to be able to process those. We were never meant to carry this alone, friend. So you were never meant to carry this by yourself. This is something that we need to lean into our community for. And so one of the ways that I've found has been extremely helpful, I want to give you guys a very practical tool here, okay? There's something that I teach in my private coaching with helping men create a whole framework to be able to get out of their addiction and begin to live freedom, is a thing called FANOS. So this is a tool that's been super helpful for myself and many, many others. It's called FANOS. That's an acronym. So FANOS, we'll walk through that. This acronym is basically a conversation tool, right? So it's a check-in framework for you to use with your spouse, with a friend, with a sponsor, with an accountability partner, maybe a brother that's helping you in recovery. And really, this is a 10 minutes or less conversation that I would encourage you to do daily, especially in that early, let's just say 60 to 90 days. I'd love to see you guys do 90 straight days of FANOS. Maybe that feels super overwhelming to you, but if you're in, you're in. Let's go, right? Honestly, it could take 10 minutes. And all I'm wanting you to do, write this down if you're taking notes, come back to it later and take the notes down wherever you're at. If you're listening and you're driving, please don't write and drive. But I want you to do this check-in. I want you to commit to this, okay? If you're working through your sobriety, you are finally trying to live free. I want you to pull this into your recovery plan, okay? A 10-minute check-in with one of those people, spouse, friend, sponsor, accountability, brother in Christ, whatever it is, okay? And in this check-in, here's what you're going to do. You're going to spend literally 1 to 2 minutes per item. First one is this. Surprise, because we're talking about today. Feelings. What am I feeling? Okay? After we walk through this, I'll give you guys a couple thoughts on identifying those feelings in just a minute. But what I'm wanting you to do is to identify, here's what I'm feeling today. It doesn't have to be in the moment, because in the moment you might be feeling something, but 10 minutes ago or a few hours ago or earlier today, you felt something different. This is a good chance for you to start naming some of those emotions. I'm feeling anxious because I've got this work presentation I've got to do tomorrow. I'm feeling excited because, man, I haven't looked at porn in 4 weeks. I don't know, whatever it is. I want you to identify 2 or 3 emotions and just communicate those. Put them in context with one simple sentence. I feel this because of that. That's it. Just start connecting the dots there. 90 seconds max is all it takes to do this. Then move on to the A, affirmation. This is a really fun part of the check-in process because affirmation, what I want you to do in the affirmation part is I want you to encourage or affirm someone, if not the person you're actually doing the check-in with. Some kind of affirmation of them. I don't care what it is. It could be super simple. If I'm checking in with my wife, I may be like, hey, I really just want to tell you thank you so much for cooking dinner tonight. It's awesome. I didn't have to think about it, and we got this wonderful meal on the table. Super simple, right? Doesn't have to be anything crazy. We're not looking for big hallmark type moments here. We're just trying to get out of ourselves, get our eyes and focus on someone else, and then communicate something encouraging to them. So F, feelings, A, affirmation. The N here is for need. And all I'm asking here is for you to communicate something that you need emotionally, spiritually, practically. It could be something big, like I really need to go read my Bible and do some prayer time. It could be something small, like I just need to get in bed early enough tonight because I got an early morning and I don't want to be tired tomorrow. I might need to take a walk. I might need to take a nap. I don't know. It could be anything. This is you having a chance to think, process, and communicate. Be self introspective, right? We're trying to become better students of ourselves and then vocalize and verbalize what our needs are. Next one is O for ownership. So here's what you're doing in the O. Is there anything that you need to take ownership over from today? Any unhealthy choices, any dishonesty, any shame, any sin? This is a chance for you to kind of have that reflective moment to say, where maybe did I get it wrong today? So I want you to take that chance to do that. We want to keep short accounts on things, guys. I want you, friend, to walk in repentance and faith and be practicing that, right? Because that's going to help you stay in this pathway of freedom by keeping short accounts and not letting things stack up small, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And then the next thing you know, you're back in living in your addiction. Okay. The last one is a sobriety check-in. Guys, if you are committed to your freedom journey, then we are trying to walk in purity. I mean, that's part of that's why you're here, because you want to learn how to not do this anymore, right? So once you've defined what sobriety is, that's different for everyone. Again, this is in pillar 4 of the 4 pillars of a porn-free life, where we actually build a plan, but we define sobriety. That's a little different for everyone, but this is your opportunity to check in with your check-in partner with your sobriety. How am I doing today in my recovery? Have I crossed over into active addiction? So this is where I want you to make that check-in, and that just gives you some good accountability. So this kind of conversation is really allowing for us to teach ourselves something that many of you may have never learned. It's a way for you to be emotionally honest, a way for you to be practically honest. And so this FANOS check-in is gold. I'm telling you, it is gold. I want you to bring this into your world effective immediately. Call the guy, call your friend, whoever it is, friend, that you are depending on, whoever you brought into your community, assuming you've walked into that space already. I want you guys to start using FANOS on a daily basis. I want 90 and 90. Let's go. Let's get 90 straight days of FANOS. So I told you I would share a little bit more about the emotions wheel. Or processing emotions. That I use a tool, this emotions wheel. Maybe you've seen it. I'll show it to you. Maybe put it on the screen here and let you see it. But essentially, there's core emotions in the center that we basically capture every possible emotion that you could feel. I mean, this isn't exhaustive, but at least it captures most of those cores. And then out of that core emotion, it fans out, and you see how it kind of brings out more ways to describe that core emotion, and then fans out yet again in that third layer of ways that you can even further define how you feel. And so this tool's been extremely helpful because it helps us start to develop this language. And so I'd love for you to also, you can maybe Google search this. It's not something, I didn't create this feelings wheel. You can get it in a simple Google search. But I would encourage you to also print out a copy of this emotions wheel so that you can utilize that in the FANOS check-in. Because what I want you to do, friend, is I want you to start growing your emotional language. Because oftentimes what happens in an active addiction is we literally just think so narrow-mindedly about how we feel. We think, oh, I'm feeling temptation, or I'm feeling stressed, or I'm feeling overwhelmed or angry. And really, there's so many more things that are probably operating under the surface for you, whether it's grief, fear, insecurity, maybe rejection, disappointment, could be loneliness, exhaustion. You could be feeling shame or resentment. There's so many different things that are actually happening in you. And until you can start to identify those things, you're going to stay in a narrow mindset of just like, I feel temptation, I act out, or I don't like how I feel, whatever it is, I'm going to act out. So, what the emotions wheel does is it helps you slow down and identify what's actually happening beneath the surface, which is where I think where the gold is. I think that's where we find freedom, is when we start to really dig beneath the surface here. So I don't want you living, friend, in an unnamed emotion, right? Because unnamed emotions just get medicated. That's all that happens. When emotions become identifiable, they become processable, right? If you can identify it, you can process it. So we begin learning, I don't need to run from this feeling. I can bring this feeling into the light. Friend, emotions are not the enemy of your sobriety. They're actually invitations. Okay, so they're inviting you today toward honesty with others, toward honesty with yourself, toward a greater dependence on God. Every emotion that you feel is pointing somewhere, even painful emotions, right, are revealing something important about what's happening inside your heart. So the goal isn't to suppress them. The goal is to surrender them. And this is one of the reasons I think, one of the reasons I think Jesus is so passionate about our honesty and integrity and being out in the light. He wants us to deal with the grief, the weakness, the fear, the sorrow, the dependence, anything, right? He's not asking you to be emotionally numb. He's asking and inviting you to become whole emotionally, right? So a great opportunity for you here, friend, today. I'll just end it with this to say, this doesn't mean, friend, that every emotion that you feel is trustworthy, right? We want to bring everything into obedience to Christ. And so every emotion is really an invitation toward Christ, because ultimately loneliness can find its answer, right, in connection with God. Shame can find its answer in grace. Fear finds its answer in trust. Rejection can find its answer in belonging. Restlessness finds its answer in ultimate surrender. So Jesus is not just trying to remove porn from your life. He is restoring you to fullness in him and a true living out of your humanity. Friend, I hope that this has helped you today. I've spent years, right? You and I have spent years numbing emotions through porn and sexual brokenness. And so I want you to know this: feeling again is not weakness. It may actually be a sign that healing is beginning in your life. So don't run from your emotions. Learn to bring them into the light, right? Learn to process them in community. Learn to bring them before God. Because freedom is not just about stopping porn. It's about becoming fully alive in Jesus. So, friend, I hope this happened. I hope this helped today. FANOS, FANOS, not Thanos. FANOS, the feelings wheel. Feelings can be overwhelming, but they don't have to be. We are going to learn, friend, how to bring them into the light. We're going to learn the language. We're going to keep pursuing our freedom. Great to see you guys again. Glad to have you today. I hope, friend, that this blessed you. And I will see you again on a video real soon.